411 and today we are doing it on myofascial slings. This is my trusty advisor, Benjamin the Clout. And we're going to basically just be discussing what slings are, where do they run, and what movements are affected by slings. Later on down the track, you can check out our 411s on how to exercise those slings themselves, but for now we're going to explain them and break it all down. Alright, so we have a human being, we have a delightful specimen here, we have bones, and as part of that bone we have joints. And then on top of those bones and those joints we have muscle tissue. And as part of the muscle tissue that connects kind of everything together, we have fascia. Fascia is like the structural organ of the body. Think of it that way. If we didn't have fascia, we would pretty much collapse in a heap. We would have stuff oozing everywhere. I love fascia, fascia loves me, it loves all of us, it doesn't discriminate. Alright, so we have our muscles. And these muscles are essentially covered in a superficial layer of fascia. Now, each individual muscle as well has got a deeper layer of fascia, and there's different types of fascia throughout the body. So we've got superficial coating fascia, we've got intramuscular fascia that can be either thick or thin depending on how deep it is, but then we also have fascia like over the front of the elbow. The one that goes over the bicipital tendon here. That's a really, really thick fascia. It's totally different to the one that goes over the pec. And then we have the thoracolumbar fascia. So the fascia that goes between the thorax and the pelvis. The thoracolumbar fascia is a fantastic example of a fascia that is really, really strong and quite taut and can actually cause a lot of problems. Now, the fascia does a lot of fascinating things. So, you know, they used to say that Bruce Lee would, where he would generate his force from on a punch was from his opposite foot. And it's because if this foot is in some way connected to that shoulder, we need to anchor, close it off in order to generate all of that force through to the opposite shoulder. And that's in practice, that's what happens. That's why when, you know, if we're going to punch, we get that front leg further forward, we brace it, and then we swing. Okay, so we're going to walk through which of the different layers of fascia we have. We've got a superficial front line, which essentially comes from here, from the head of the neck, down here, and across into the legs. We've got a deep front line, which is kind of more oblique front through into the front of the groin. We've got a spiral line, which comes up underneath and across over this way. It's very, very similar to the oblique line. So the oblique line just comes up and across. Other oblique line comes up and across. You know, we walk, you know, opposite arm, opposite legs. It's all got to do with it. So oblique line, we've got the spiral line, we've got the superficial front, and we've got the deep front. When we turn around, we've got the longitudinal back. So it comes up here and goes all the way down across here. We've got the lateral line on one side. We've also got the posterior oblique sling, so opposite glute to opposite arm to opposite glute. Then we've got the lateral line. We've got the lateral line that goes down again just on the side of the body. We've also got the arm sling. So the arm sling just kind of originates from the pec and goes into that arm itself. So everything is connected. So if you're thinking, you know, what does my chest and my abdomen have to do with my shin splints? Well, this is all connected. The body is one big connected structural organ and everything's got a part to play. Just to demonstrate. So imagine this is the anterior longitudinal sling. And we've got some problem down here where we've had some trauma. You can see that he's now struggling to hold up the top of the sling because we've got trauma down here. If I was to knock this trauma on its head and release the tension, he's now hasn't got any issues at the top of the sling. So this most notably happens in the posterior oblique sling. If we have a really weak glute here, then this shoulder is often compromised because it hasn't got much stability. So it allows the shoulder to fall forward because this glute is weak. It doesn't have any tension on the posterior oblique sling, so the shoulder falls forward. We often get an impingement. By increasing this glute, sometimes that is enough to get that shoulder to posteriorly rotate and help with an impingement. Not on everybody, but when the slings have got something to do with it, that does happen. So that's the introduction to the sling. We're going to be moving into the movements that the sling does on the next 411. Catch you then.